Hello, I'm Braddock Supervisor John Cook. Thank you for watching my news program, Braddock Neighborhood News, which takes an in-depth look at the local topics most important to you and our community. Tourism is an important economic sector, especially to a county right in the backyard of the nation's capital. This advantage has been a critical part of the county's strategy to grow the local economy, and growing the county's tourism sector will make it a vibrant, exciting place to be. To discuss the tourism sector in Fairfax County, I have invited Barry Bigger, the President and CEO of Visit Fairfax, and Brian Kelleher, the General Manager of the Hilton Tysons, to come on BNN and tell us about what makes Fairfax such an attractive destination. Barry, Brian, thanks for coming on the show.
Oh, thank you, Supervisor.
Barry, why don't we start by telling people what is Visit Fairfax and what do you do?
Sure. Visit Fairfax is actually the destinational marketing organization that does it on behalf of the County of Fairfax. Our mission is to promote and to sell Fairfax County as a preferred destination to visit, whether that be for business travel, whether it be for leisure, vacation, or very importantly, sports events. So our job is to go out, bring visitors here to our county where they spend money and they visit a lot of our industry, whether it be certainly the hotels, the restaurants, but also retail sales places. In the sports market, as an example, we recently received a letter from a laundromat who thanked us very much for bringing in sports events, because when they have a sporting competition in their area over a weekend, they do more business in their laundromat in those 2 days than they do in an entire month, because the teams need to clean their uniforms. So our charge is to go out and bring new money to the county in order to benefit the industry as a whole, but even more importantly, to benefit the citizens who live here. Because every dollar a visitor spends creates taxes. Those taxes help to pay for the services that the county provides. So the more visitors we have coming in here, leaving money, going home, not demanding any services, the better it is for our residents as well as the businesses.
That's right, and Barry, I know you and I have had this conversation many times, that it really is what we all want, is to spend someone else's money. And so we on the board like nothing better than someone coming into a county, spending a bunch of money. Great, a lot of that goes to the private industry, that's great, and you'll employ people and do a lot of good things, and we'll just take our little piece. Sure. But it helps the overall, not only economic climate for business, but it helps the county pay some of the bills that we have to pay. And Brian, in the hotel business, it's a pretty big deal to bring in people, and to bring in people coming to Fairfax. It's also nice to bring them into Washington and try to hook them through here, but if they see Fairfax as a destination, that's good for business.
Well, it's a great county to represent, and quite frankly, being in Fairfax County and the breadth of attributes that are available enable us to bring business in that might go to DC, might go to Maryland. We also compete with cities outside the area. We won't go to Atlanta or Charlotte. We enjoy bringing the business in. And to what Barry was saying, it's great to see these folks spend their money in the different areas, from car rentals to our parks, to the theaters, to retail, and all the things, all the seasons that we, all of the attractions we have during the seasons. Meadowlark, for example. Great venue. People love the garden. Different folks, or maybe the same folks, come back at the wintertime for the brilliant light show. Right. So it's the attributes that we have here in the county are all year long. It makes it a delight to sell the county.
And for things like hotels, restaurants, and such. Business traffic, right, tends to be during the week. Tourist traffic tends to be in the weekends. And so I guess it creates some efficiencies in our businesses, and it brings in people not during the workday rush hour, but on the weekend where we've got a little better ability to move them around the area.
That's absolutely true, and it does help even out the business. And Barry and I were chatting a little while ago. I think this past year we've had record occupancy in the county. I think 72%.
Correct. You know, collectively, the entire tourism industry of the county is a $3 billion with a B a year industry. It is substantial. The great thing about tourism is, and you hit it right on the head, Supervisor, during the course of the week, business travel is very important. When you look at the diversification of corporations and businesses we have, Monday to Thursday is always very busy with those travelers. But in order to ensure that we maximize every opportunity, we also have to be absolutely assured we're doing the vacationers and the sports tournament. So all of those markets are vital to our economy, and all of those markets are what contribute to the $3 billion. So much has happened here in Fairfax County in a short period of time that even gives us a better opportunity and competitive edge to capitalize and grow that business, whether it be weekday or weekend. And I'm not only talking about business that would come here anyway, but an opportunity to actually take some market share out of what most people think is the icon, and that's Washington, D.C. The value proposition that Fairfax County provides a visitor, whether it's business or leisure or sports, is certainly the plethora of opportunity we have and experiences in the way of attractions and things of that nature. But even more importantly, on average, we're at probably a 30 to 35% better value for people to stay here than Washington, D.C. With the Metro line now coming into Tysons, through Reston, and all the way out to Dulles, that's a huge opportunity. Dulles International Airport is an unbelievable opportunity. We're sitting with one of the best international airports in our country that is only using 50% of their capacity. We have the opportunity in the tourism industry to grow it and to help diversify the economy of Fairfax County in a significant way.
You know, I'm glad you mentioned Dulles, because that is so critical, and the opportunity there. I know we've talked a little bit about before about international travelers, and the difference between that international traveler flying into Dulles and then going to downtown Washington to stay versus even if their business is going to be in Washington, if we can capture them to stay in Tysons, because what do they do in Tysons when they're not at their business meeting?
They're shopping, they're eating out, they're taking full advantage of everything that is there.
And they spend a lot of money.
On average, to give you an example, a typical traveler from Japan to the United States will leave up to 10 times more money in the economy than a typical domestic traveler. The yield that one receives from an international audience is considerably greater. We are poised with Dulles to maximize every opportunity we have around the world to bring visitors in. Consider the two largest potential traveling markets in the world today, China and India. We have nonstop service to China daily, and we're about to get nonstop service to India daily. Those two access points to the international arena put us in a very unique position to grow that international visitation. And as we continue moving through time, that international visitation is going to be critical to grow the tourism base of any community. And if you have the access point right here, you have a great opportunity.
You know, if people just kind of think about it as they're watching at home, you know, I think we all tend to spend more money when we are on vacation, right? When we're on our everyday lives, maybe we're kind of frugal in what we do. I won't go out to dinner tonight, or I won't spend so much. But when you're out of town on vacation, oh, the nice restaurant looks nicer. Maybe we will go shopping. And just the ability to capture those travelers, capture them in Tyson's at your hotel, and have them doing that extra spending, a little shopping, a little dinner, after dinner, what have you. And that, I'm sure, it would be a great help to not only your hotel, but all the hotels, the restaurants, the shops, and then all the workers working in those business places. It has a multiplier effect in the economy.
Well, it absolutely does, and I'm glad both that you brought it up, Supervisor and Barry. You're both, spot on. I'd say the world-class attributes that we have here in the county enable us to help attract those international travelers, as you just said or mentioned. I mean, it's a big deal if you're flying from China and you've saved up your money and you're going to stay here. The direct flight from China has opened that door for us here. Not only is it China, Japan, Vietnam has become a significant contributor to international travel. And the transportation piece. You know, all of those folks are on our local buses here, rented, chartered into town. They are shopping, they are spending, and you see them coming in, it's success. We greet them when they come in with bags full. And literally, in our particular location, it's probably north of 20,000 guests from Asia in our location. And if you look around, particularly Tyson's area, which I'm familiar with, you'll see them in other hotels, and actually looking forward to the Air India flight coming in.
And it's thousands of dollars per person per day.
Correct.
When they're in town, right?
Yes.
You're right. You know, a lot of us, when we go on vacation, we don't tend to think about the effects of what we're doing in another location. That our home is going through the exact same thing with other people visiting our area. And you're right. When you're on vacation, you're eating 3 meals out a day. Yeah. How often at home do you eat 3 meals out per day? You have to find accommodation. You have to stay somewhere and overnight. You have to use public transportation. Or if you have your own car, you're filling up in their gas stations. It is an amazing opportunity of growing the economy of a community without having to build too terribly much to accommodate it. And Brian alluded to transportation. The metro line coming into our area now in a deeper capacity is huge, not only for visitors, but also for business locations, but also for the residents who live here. When you see all of the work that is being done in our roadways, whether it be the Beltway or the work on 66 or any of the other roads, that all helps with tourism, because if you cannot get here and if you cannot get around easy, you're not going to maximize the opportunity. And I also look at this destination in a holistic point of view. In your district resides our 2 post-secondary educational institutions of substantial size. Yep. George Mason University and Nova. When you consider George Mason University and the amount of people that are attending that school who do not call Fairfax County home 365 days a year, they're visitors. They're residents temporarily, but they're also visitors. And then when you look at what we have to offer this place in which we call home, Mount Vernon, the most visited historical home in the United States, the Udvar-Hazy Air and Space Museum. You have Wolf Trap, Brian mentioned Meadowlark. You have the historical triangle of Fairfax County in the south with Gunston Hall, Mount Vernon, Woodlawn. You have the Lord and Workhouse Art Center. Wherever you go in this county, There's something very exciting to see, do, and experience. So if we are not out there marketing and telling our story and exciting people to come here to experience what we have, I believe that we do a disservice to the place we call home and to the residents who have pride of home in where they live. So every opportunity we have to bring somebody in to share this great place we call home, we will.
You know, Barry, when you think about everything that you just said about all the things we have in the county, and then you say, oh, and by the way, we're next door to the capital of the world that happens to have a whole boatload of things to see and do. And hey, you don't have to go downtown and be stuck down there because Brian's got a hotel for you right here in Fairfax, as do his colleagues. It's a game changer that we are only partially taking advantage of.
You're absolutely right.
And we should be maximizing that opportunity. And, you know, we talked about international travelers. The same thing has to do with domestic. But you said something earlier, Barry, about sports teams and sports tournaments and such. Something so important. You know, it's funny. Nobody goes to a sporting event without consuming food. Right. We all do it, right? You can't, it's like there's a law against it, right? So, but I know so many parents in my generation who every weekend are driving out of Fairfax to drive their kids up and down the East Coast to go to these tournaments. And we know they're taking boatloads of dollars out of Fairfax, spending them every other place. Brian, I know you would love to have those parents staying home and having thousands of other parents from all across the East Coast coming and staying in your hotel because their kids are going to play in the tournament.
Oh, I agree with you 100%. As a matter of fact, I know a lot of those parents that are traveling out of the area, and we'd love nothing more than to have that here. And I think they would say the same thing. But I know that they do spend a lot of money when they travel, and they spend a lot of time. So we would love to have that business here.
And you know, I know we're working on that, Barry, and I spent a lot of time talking about that. And as the transportation infrastructure improves, which it is, as 95 gets sort of fixed so that it's, you know, it works, and 66, which is going to be getting fixed here in the next few years, Dulles, Metro out to Dulles, and all of a sudden, you know, people who are planning tournaments and events do like to go to places that are fun to go to, and but not if it's a pain in the neck. So once we can show that, hey, traveling here in the weekend actually is, hey, bring a bus up the express lanes up 95 and stay in Fairfax, or fly in, or whatever it is, then we can have those folks here, and again, spending a lot of domestic dollars in Fairfax County.
You know, and I actually look at it, you know, two sides. The more we can bring in the way of tournaments, competition, certainly help our industry and a lot of the businesses and the economy of the county. But what I also look at is, if we have the ability to bring them here, what we're doing is we're saving the parents and the participants time in fundraising, let alone traveling, let alone all of the money that they're spending, and in some ways giving them somewhat of a competitive advantage because they're here in home turf, in home field. So I go, the benefits of bringing those things here are certainly very beneficial to the people who live here and, as you say, travel every weekend. And even if we can save them 2 or 3 weekends over the course of, you know, that season, that's big.
And when they save that money, then we can encourage them to spend it here.
Correct.
Right? So it all
Absolutely.
circles back around in a good way.
That's right.
But that's what a dynamic economy means, right? It's an
Sure.
economy where money moves around.
Right.
It doesn't do any good to be sitting in your wallet. But you can't just take money out of your wallet if you don't have something going in.
Correct.
So you get the economy moving, you provide the jobs in the hotels and in the restaurants, so that the weekend traffic is just as good, if not better, than the weekday traffic.
Right.
And the transportation infrastructure, which is built to handle rush hour during the week, can certainly handle the weekend traffic we're talking about.
Right.
And the economic, you know, talk about World Police and Fire Games. We know how much money that event in just what, a couple weeks brought into this
10
area.
days. 10 days, 10,000 athletes from 70 countries left $84 million in the economy when you start adding in the direct money they left in the hotels, in the restaurants, at the attractions, in the shopping mall, and the indirect effect that those direct dollars have in our economy, in paying payroll, in buying services, the food for restaurants, and all things of that nature. In 10 days, $84 million was churned in our economy and would have a residual effect even down the road more so. And when you consider what that means as it relates to, let's say, a small to medium-sized business that operates in the county, a small to medium-sized business would take up to 5+ years to leave that much money in your economy. 10 days. And it was a sporting event. And the world was watching. And Supervisor, as a result of that one event and the success that Fairfax County made it, and it was a community-wide event that was embraced by all, we now have the National Senior Games, a biannual competition of 7,000 to 10,000 seniors that are wanting to come here to Fairfax County. We have the opportunity of landing the United States Corporate Games because of the success of the World Police and Fire Games. Again, a few thousand competitors. And we also have the opportunity of many other mega sporting events of that nature that bring people in from across the country and around the world to participate. And Fairfax County is now seen as a center of excellence for those kind of mega events.
And that's a big deal because it's not just that each event brings in a certain number of dollars. Brian, if you know that Fairfax County is going to have a major event every 6 months, every 3 months, that goes into your planning as a business person. You're thinking we're going to need more hotel rooms. Someone else is thinking they're going to build their hotel, new hotel in Tysons that actually won't even compete with yours because there's enough people to fill both. That's a big deal for the business community. It is,
Because you've got a base to work with. And if you've got a reliable base like that, it does. And it allows you, if you were going to develop something new, I won't use the word risk, but it takes some of the, well, I will, take some of the risk out of it.
Right.
And those events themselves tend to be rich in spend. If you talk about the weekday traveler, myself, one person on business, I'm on a mission, whereas you talk about the police and fire games, the camaraderie, meeting new friends, we're going to go out, we're going to connect. So yes, to answer your question, you have a base like that in other locations where I've worked. It is a big deal when they look and see capacity and can we build more. And can we, back to your earlier comment, it also helps you even out some of your efficiencies. And those events tend to be shoulders, need times, filling the weekends, filling July, August.
And we need to rely on those. We do not have a convention center here in Fairfax County. And to be very honest with you, I don't think we want a convention center in Fairfax County. But a conference center, yes, because conference centers provide that stability over the course of the year. But until we have a conference center or something of that nature to help provide our businesses like hotels with a stable base, and events like sporting events, mega events of that nature, which we have now proved we can do, and people see the success they can have, that is what we need to get.
And part of it, for business, last question, because we're going to be out of time. Brian, Barry mentioned earlier, you sort of get this kind of spirit of it being a place to be. When Hilton moved its headquarters here to Fairfax, that was a big deal for Fairfax County. What does it mean to business for the county to be sort of seen as a place to be, as a place where things happen, where events can get done, where the community kind of comes and goes to the next level, that energy, what does that mean to business?
Well, it's huge. It enables you to grow your business, to invest more. In my particular location, we've upwards to $40 million reinvested into the hotel, just my unit alone. And when you've got county officials that are accessible and engaged, and I'm speaking from being the past chairman of Visit Fairfax, it makes a huge difference. Even just emotionally, you get invested in it.
So business is good, tourism's great, and we could talk a lot longer, but we're out of time. I want to thank Barry and Brian for joining me today and for the work they do to improve the tourism sector in Fairfax County. I hope you've enjoyed this segment of Braddock Neighborhood News. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, comments, or other needs, please contact my office at 703-425-9300 or email braddock@fairfaxcounty.gov. Tune in next month for another edition, and please remember to volunteer your time. Our community needs you.